So there I was in a conference room with two other individuals across the table from me and three microphones in the room. I was in my first podcast interview. It was really exciting. The reason I had gotten there was because my friend had just recently started a podcast, and he said, Caleb, I would love to level up my audio quality. And you've been studying music production and audio engineering for the last year or so, and I would love for you to just come give us some pointers and apply what you've been learning. And of course, I was super excited to hang out with my friend and share with him and try to help him level up his audio on his podcast. So there we were. The podcast interview went great. And when I got the audio back to start editing for him and try to do a little bit of work on the post-production side of things for him, yeah, some things were better, but it was still lacking the punch and the clarity and just like the radio broadcast sound that I was going for, that I would really wanted to help my friend find. And maybe you can relate to that when you've watched a lot of videos on YouTube, or maybe you've talked to other podcasters and you're like, I just want to sound like a pro podcaster, even as a rookie podcaster, or maybe an intermediate or a well-seasoned and advanced podcaster. You want to just level up your audio. That's what we're going to be doing today. We're going to be talking about how to get pro-level recording no matter the level of podcaster that you are. Hey, if you're new here, my name is Caleb, and welcome to the Podcaster's Journey. This is just a place where I share my experience so far as a podcaster on this side of the microphone, and I do it in a way and because I want you to avoid pitfalls or problems that I came through. And I want to just lay a path behind me that says, hey, this is one way that you can go in podcasting, and these are some things that you should do or maybe avoid. So today we're going to be talking about the common pitfalls that you might find in podcast recording and how we can avoid those, and ways that you can level up your audio really easily. I've got 3 things that we could do there, 3 or 4 things. And then we're going to move into remote recording success. So if you're recording on Zoom, I'm going to tell you a couple of other options that I would recommend that are going to give you better quality. But if that's not an option, I'm going to tell you how to get better quality out of your Zoom recording. And then lastly, I'm going to give you guys a workflow document that's just a set step-by-step instructions of exactly what to do when you sit down to record with your podcast to get the most out of your podcast. And the reason I want to give that to you guys is because I understand as a podcaster that we don't have a lot of time to sit here and record this over and over again. Yeah, we really want to sit down once and get it done and do it well so that we can just be happy with how it went and move on, because we've got a lot of other things going on in our life. So if that sounds at all helpful to you, I want to invite you to head over to my website, podcastbuilders.co/resources, and there you can get the free download of this workflow document, and I want to share it with you. That is my gift to you today for being part of the community. So don't worry if you don't want to head off just there just yet. I will remind you at the end of where you can go. But in the meantime, let's jump into this episode and let's talk about these things. Okay, so let's talk about the common pitfalls to avoid. The first one is going to be improper mic placement, okay? First thing with this is we want to make sure that we have that we're speaking into the correct part of the microphone. So this microphone, the Zoom ZDM1, actually it's kind of like a handheld mic that you would see maybe at a concert, or if you go to church, at a church where people are holding it and talking into the very end of it. So where I need to speak for this microphone is into the end. This is an important part. I've seen podcasters, I've seen YouTubers who are speaking into the side. They'd be talking, if you're watching the video, they're talking over here. And if you're just listening, you can probably hear a difference in my voice. And I'm going to just keep talking as I come back around to the proper place to talk into the microphone. And you can hear a big difference as I move around. First thing you want to find out is, where do I need to be talking into my microphone? If you don't know that, you have to find that out first, okay? And an easy way to do it is put your headphones on, plug your microphone in, and just start moving your head around and figure out where it sounds really crispy and clear. Second thing that you want to do for proper mic placement is that you want to set this off angle. You might notice that if you're watching this again, and if you're listening, I'm going to just describe it for you. I'm looking directly at the camera. I'm facing ahead, and my microphone is off to the left of my mouth just a little bit, about 45 degrees. I don't know if it's exactly that, but it's off center. It's not directly in front. And the reason that is because of plosives. Now, if you listen to the P, you would notice that it's not really loud and obnoxious. Now, I'm giving you a warning. This is going to be not as good, so I'm going to turn my face towards the microphone and speak directly into it and give another P sound, plosives. You might notice that P is just a little bit sharper. There's a few letters. I think it's B, P. There's a few more that fit into that plosive category, and it's where your mouth just kind of sends a burst of air into the microphone, and that's what it's from. So offsetting your microphone to the right, or to the left or right just a little bit, will be a great way to get around that. Another thing to do with that is you want to set it up about 3 or 4 finger lengths away from your face. That's going to give you just a little bit of space between you and your microphone. I have a tendency to kind of get closer and closer to the mic, which it's not a bad thing. It's probably better to be too close than it is to be too far away, but there is such a thing as being too close. So you want to try to get used to speaking about that distance from your face. When I first tell podcast clients this, sometimes they get really stiff and they kind of lock into place and they're like, I have to stay right here. That's not at all what I'm trying to communicate with you guys, is that you have to lock into a spot and stay directly there from your microphone. What I want to give you, though, is that I want you to just be mindful of it. And as you're getting used to speaking into your microphone and giving podcast interviews, try to be mindful of where you're at with your microphone and just start naturally kind of kind of naturally putting yourself in a place where you're about that far away from the microphone. That's going to give you a good sound. I've got 2 more for you here. Another one is that you want the microphone to be just a little bit below your mouth. You're going to be capturing more of, it sounds strange, but more of like your throat and your neck sounds, which give it a little bit more of a boomy kind of radio sound. Whereas if I come down here and I'm speaking the same way, but I'm speaking below the mic, it should sound a little bit thinner. So that's just one quick tip, another there. And last one is just, we want to make sure that our cables and our mic stand are all out of reach. We don't want to accidentally bump them as we're moving. I've done that before on this podcast. You also don't want to be touching the microphone cable. I'm going to touch mine right now. You can kind of hear that. Or if I bumped it, you can hear what that sounds like. So same thing with bumping your microphone. I'm sure you know what that sounds like. We just want to avoid those kind of sounds, and setting up our microphone in a place where we're going to have use of our hands, but not being in the way of our hands is a great way to do that. Okay. Tip number 2 for common pitfalls is not having a pop filter. This goes back to the plosives. A pop filter really cleans things up as far as plosives. It doesn't totally eliminate them, but it makes them better. I also have found that it makes S's and kind of shrill, without getting too far into the audio engineer side, a lot of the higher end frequencies, it kind of deadens those a little bit. So this is a test of what the audio sounds like with the pop filter. I'm going to remove it. So this is a warning here. I'm going to say that sentence one more time, and then there's going to be a little bit of noise as I remove my pop filter from my microphone, just to give you kind of a before and after of what the pop filter does for you when you're recording. So here's that sentence again. This is a test of what the audio sounds like with the pop filter. So here's that sound again. So this is a test of what the audio sounds like without the pop filter. And you can probably hear a difference. I can hear a difference in my ears. So one more time, this is a test of what the audio sounds like without the pop filter. And so here, putting it back on. This is a test of what the audio sounds like with the pop filter. So I don't really need to go into that anymore other than just get a pop filter. You can get some that connect to your mic stand that are like a disc that can go between you and your microphone. That's a great way to do it. You can also look for just little top pieces like this that slide right onto your microphone. So And I've got affiliate links for all these as well in the resources that I'd mentioned at the beginning. So if that's something you're looking for, head on over there and I'll be happy to share that with you. Then number 3 is not setting up your recording environment for success. I realize not everybody's going to have a dedicated studio or room in their home that they can come in and record in. But that is something that I would really encourage you to work towards, is getting a room that isn't echoey, isn't loud. You can do the clap test when you're in there, see if there's an echo. See if, that's going to take a little bit of practice with your ears to be able to hear, but I'm sure you could, if you go into, like, our living room is a very large living room, much bigger than we have, couches and different things that would absorb sound in there. Excuse me. And if you clap in there, you're going to hear a slight echo in that room. So in this room, you can see behind me, I've got some sound absorption. I've got some over here on both these walls. I honestly need to do a little bit more in this room. It's not as dead as I would like it to be in here for recording, but it works. It's not super echoey in here. So I want you to work towards a dedicated space in your home. It needs to be quiet. It needs to have just good, if it's not only quiet, but it also needs to have some kind of sound absorption in it. If you don't have the panels and everything, that's fine. You don't have to have all those, but have like a bed, have a rug. Don't be in a totally empty room. That's going to sound really bad. And there are AI tools that can help you kind of tone some of that stuff down. But at the end of the day, I'm of the opinion, why not fix it before any of the problems happen? Why not just fix it ahead of time? Don't fix it afterwards when it's a little bit more challenging to fix. Fix it ahead of time. So that's my opinion and my 2 cents there. So those are some of the common pitfalls that'll help you kind of level up your audio really quick, that don't really cost you anything. The mic placement really isn't going to cost you anything. If you've already got the mic and the mic stand, this is just playing with your microphone to get it to work better with you. A pop filter, these are like $10, so that is another inexpensive way. And setting up your recording environment is, again, just figuring out a place in your home that you can sit down that's dedicated to helping you get a better recording. So if you have any questions about these, I want to give a soft call to action here. I want you to head over to my Facebook group, The Podcaster's Journey. It's free to join, and I want you to engage with me in a conversation there. Tag me as you write the post, and just let me know what you're dealing with and what you're struggling with. I would love to help you out and be a resource for you as you're trying to figure out better mic technique, better ways to avoid these pitfalls and other pitfalls so that your recording sounds better and that you're leveling up. Okay, so let's keep going here. Number 2, the second thing here is setting yourself up for success when you're recording in a remote recording situation. Now, I mentioned before that if you're using Zoom, that's okay. We're going to get to that and how you level that up. But I would recommend, in my professional recommendation would be to use a platform like Riverside or Squadcast. Now, I say that I'm not affiliated with either one, but I have used Riverside extensively with a client in particular. We've done over 100 episodes, and he does only remote interviews. I'm trying to think. He's done one interview where he's done it in person, but he does everything remote, and it's been a good experience overall. There have been a few technical glitches, but I feel like the quality, Zoom versus Riverside, I feel like you do get a bump, and I do feel like it's worth it as far as audio and video quality go. So if that is in the budget, I would recommend picking up Riverside or Squadcast if possible. If it's not, and you already bought into Zoom and you don't want to buy into something else, that's A-okay. Let's talk about how to level it up. You're going to go to your settings in Zoom, and this, again, is referenced in the resources that I mentioned earlier, so you can listen through now, and if you need it written out for you later, go check it out on my website and figure it out. Or not figure it out, but download it and use that if that's easier for you. But if you're in front of Zoom right now, you're going to open up settings, and you're going to want to make sure that you have the correct mic input selected. Now, this is an important one. This is something that has even happened to me when I was getting set up here on this side of the microphone as a podcaster, I went to a Zoom meeting with a colleague, and I have this setup. It looks like it should sound really great. And thankfully, my colleague was like, Kaleb, it looks great, but it does not sound good. And what had happened is my monitor has a built-in microphone. It works for communicating, but it doesn't sound great. And not somehow, I hadn't set it all up properly. And Zoom was set up in a way that it was using the microphone from the monitor rather than from my microphone. So you want to make sure that you have the correct mic set up to be checked. Step number 2 is you want to check your mic level. This is something I probably should have put up above. This is something that's great, even if you're not doing remote recordings, is that you want to gain stage it properly so that you're not clipping. If you're clipping, it's basically impossible to repair. Now, there are tools out there, and I've used one of them with not great success, but I have seen other people who've said they've gotten better success about fixing the clipping. But again, my opinion is just set it up correctly in the first place and avoid the problem. So check your mic level, make sure you're getting a good, healthy level in. You don't want it to be too soft, but you also don't want it to be too loud. We want it to be just right. If you've got levels on your camera or audio interface that'll tell you kind of what you're aiming for, you want to be just tickling the yellow, which is going to be like around -10, -12. If you're hitting that like at your peaks, you're going to be at a great place. It's going to sound great. Moving on, you want to set up your headphones. Make sure that you're getting the audio out here in your headphones. You don't want it to be coming out your speakers. Or if you have a laptop, your built-in laptop speakers. And the reason we want to do that is because this allows us to turn off our echo cancellation in Zoom. And echo cancellation is basically just an algorithm in the Zoom software that kind of processes the audio and it degrades it. Just makes it doesn't make it sound as good. To take out those echoes, to take out anybody else talking and try to cancel them from going back into the microphone to go into the recording. So that's why I'd recommend putting in your headphones and always wearing headphones during an interview so that you can turn off the echo cancellation. Another one is that you're going to select the original sound for musicians. Now, once you have this set up, this is something that you're going to have to remember to manually click every single time you come into Zoom to make sure that you're getting totally unprocessed. I take that back. I don't know if it's totally unprocessed, but it's much less processed audio out of Zoom. And then just a couple more quick ones. We want to set our audio to have stereo audio off so that we have a mono signal. If you don't do this, it might not be the end of the world, but you would get audio coming in from just one speaker rather than like it would sound like you're coming from the left or just the right, and so on and so forth. So that's something to think about as you record in Zoom. Another one is to turn on the high-fidelity music mode. This is something that takes a little more power out of your computer and bandwidth out of your internet. So if you have an older computer and slower internet, might want to stay away from that one. But that's something that can up the audio quality there as well. And then you want to set up your couple more things. You want to set up your system with Zoom to record separate audio tracks so that you have the capability to audio edit both tracks. And then you want to set up your video to get clean video feed. So you're going to turn off the name of the participants so that you can use the full video and not have to worry about that little name being at the bottom of their screen. If you're fine with that, that's totally fine, but that's just a way that you can level it up and make it sound a little better. On the video front, we want to make sure that we're selected the correct camera as well so that you're getting the quality that you're hoping to get. If you don't and you're just using a built-in camera, then don't worry about it. But if you're using a webcam or like a continuity camera on the iPhone with an Apple computer, you're going to want to make sure that you have your iPhone selected. And last thing is you're going to want to turn on the HD camera mode. So that was a lot to go through. Again, this is all things that are listed with over in the resource section of my website that you can go over and download for free. So the last one is the recording framework and the checklist. And this is, like I said before, just something that's going to help you streamline your process to free up your recording so that you don't have to think about this part of it near as much. You can put this on autopilot. You can write out your outline. You can just get into your studio, into your room, in front of your camera, in front of your mic, and just hit record. And know that everything's going to turn out well as far as the audio and the video recording goes, because you've worked through the checklist. So I will backtrack and say it's not just sitting down and pressing record. It's going to be sitting down, working through the checklist, and then hitting record. So it's going to have things like, making sure that your mic placement is good, making sure that you have the correct camera selected, make sure that if you are doing video, that if you have lights, your lighting is set up correctly. So it's just something, for somebody like me, it helps to free up my mental capacity so that I don't have to think about those things, but I also know that I'm not missing anything. So if that sounds helpful in the least bit to you, here's your final call to action. Head over to my website, podcastbuilders.co/resources, or there's a link in the show notes, and go ahead and download the resources for today. There is the settings for Zoom. There is this framework and checklist. So I just want you guys to succeed, and whatever I can do to help make that a reality, I want to do that. So head over to the website, check that out. Or if you want to join us on Facebook, it's The Podcaster's Journey. It's a Facebook group. There's also a link in the description for that. So until next time, guys, happy podcasting and keep pushing on. You're doing amazing.